Hi beautifuls, my name is Mina, welcome to my channel Mina Reads, and today we're going to be talking about my spring TBR. So there are 16 books on my spring TBR, very ambitious for me, especially because some of these books are pretty thick girls, but I believe in myself. I hope you believe in me. Let's talk about all these books. The first one that we have here is Nothing to See Here by Kevin Wilson, and this is like, I want to say it's like contemporary speculative fiction. I don't know. It sounds a little bit interesting, a little bit weird. So this is about these two girls who used to be roommates, Madison and Lillian, and basically they haven't connected with each other for like over 10 years, but Lillian is now raising two twins who have pyrotechnical powers, and so she needs some help raising them. So she reaches out to Lillian, who was once her best friend, and this is about Lillian coming in, kind of joining their family dynamic and helping her to take care of these kids. So then we have this fantasy romance by Grace Draven, and it is called Dragon Unleashed, and this is about a character named Halani, and Halani has magic. Magic is kind of forbidden in her kingdom, but she has this sort of magic that she uses to help heal people. So she's like a healer, and she's a part of a group called the Free Traders, so they're kind of this like nomadic group of people, and she has essentially uncovered some piece of like magic dragon bone or something, and dragons are thought to be extinct in this world, but they are not. They are simply in hiding, and our male protagonist in this is a guy named Malachias, who's like a dragon shifter, and he has to find this piece of dragon bone that Halani has found herself in possession of, and he's looking for that. So essentially he ends up like coming across her, and it's a romance between them. I don't know too much more about the way the plot's going to play out because I haven't heard many people talking about this book, but I do really enjoy Grace Draven, and I don't think I've ever read anything. That's a lie. I have read something with like dragon shifters in it before, but it was very strange, and one of the characters goes into his dragon form and he's like huge. So then the other dragon, who's in his human form at this point, he goes inside of the dragon's mouth naked and like rolls around in his saliva, and he reaches the finish line with his whole body inside of the dragon's mouth, and I'm interested to see if it's something that I could enjoy, and I trust Grace Draven a whole lot, so I'm gonna see how I feel. Alright, then we have The Heart Principle by Helen Huang. This is the third book in like the Kiss Quotient series. Huang, he is the brother of Kai from the second book and the cousin of Michael from the first book. But I feel like from what I have heard, this book is less about Quan and more about Anna. I have been so scared to check this book out because I feel like so many of my close friends who are also huge fans of the series and really loved books 1 and 2, they really dislike this one, and I'm nervous, but I feel like I just have to get this out of the way. I have to see if I'm going to hate it or if I'm going to love it. I have to know, because a lot of people say that it kind of let them down and it was not what they anticipated, and it's definitely not in line in terms of the tone with the rest of the series, but I still have to see what it's giving. And hopefully now that I have, you know, all of this like foreknowledge of how the circumstances in this book are a little bit more serious, the tone is a little bit more serious, and it deals with some difficult topics, I think that maybe having that foreknowledge will help me enjoy the book a lot more than my friends did, but we'll see. Alright, so the next book on my list is Romantic Comedy by Curtis Sittenfeld, and this is about a comedy sketch writer on a show sort of like SNL, and she writes comedies and she works with celebrities. She ends up meeting this one like dreamy pop star guy named Noah, and they end up hitting it off, and so this is like a story about them. And all of the early reviews that I've seen for this book is like everybody loves it and it's like their new favorite book of all time, so I have to see what it's giving. I have to check it out. I'm excited, and I don't think I've ever read a book where a character is like a sketch comedy writer, so I feel like I have to read it just for novelty's sake because it's very much not a job that I've ever seen in a romance that I've read before, so I have to see what's up. I like it. Speaking of romance, I've got A Lot Like Adios by Alexis Daria, and this is a like, I'm gonna say it's a second chance romance. I don't know if that's the right way to describe it, but this is like a childhood friends to lovers romance. They kind of became estranged in their adulthood, but they end up having to work together on this project. I believe the guy, his name is Gabe, and Gabe, he owns this like celebrity gym or whatever. They're doing some kind of like business venture where they need a marketing team to help them out, and so he ends up having to work with his childhood friend Michelle on this marketing campaign, and things get rekindled between them. I really enjoyed Childhood Friends to Lovers, so I'm excited to check this out. Then we have Vicious Devotion by Aveda Vice, and this is a monster romance. I'm already in the middle of this. I'm like pretty deep into it. I want to say I'm like 300 pages into a 500-page book. But I love Aveda Vice. Me and Aveda Vice are locked in. We're like this. We're besties. She may not know it yet, but we are. I love everything that she writes, and I'm really loving this despite it being a little bit strange. So pretty much this is a monster romance about several characters. It's like a polyamorous story, but they basically, in this world, the monsters, they're all like were creatures, and they all exist in like various packs, and the packs are united by an organization called the Conclave. But there is this group called the Vestals, and the Vestals are a pack of like rogue were people, and pretty much the Vestals are at war with the rest of the Conclave. Prior to the events of the story, there has been this huge battle. The Vestals were all but decimated, and so the few straggling members of the Vestals, they are kind of being integrated into various other packs to quell their rebellion, essentially. And so we're following one of the Vestals. Her name is Fear, as she is integrated into this pack called the Timbers, and there's lots of like enemies to lovers vibes, but it's like real enemies, like they're trying to kill each other type enemies. And honestly, very shockingly, most of the time if I'm reading a monster romance, I don't care about the plot, but the plot in this is so interesting. It's just like, it's giving. I love it. It has like this very interesting character dynamics, and the world that is set in is very fascinating, and I'm having a good time with it. So I would like to finish it soon, so just had to add it to the TBR. Then we've got this manga, Kaiju number 8. This is a kaiju story. Essentially, kaiju monsters are attacking Japan. There's like this special elite force to fight them, and I believe the main character in this, something happens to him where he like undergoes this transformation and he himself becomes a kaiju, but the special defense force like uses him as a new deadly weapon in this fight against the kaiju, essentially. That's what I got from the synopsis, and it sounds like it'll be a good time. I enjoy a good kaiju story, and the art style is really good. I mean, not that you can see it from me flipping through it that fast, but the art style seems really cool. So I want to read this and see if this is a series that I'll be interested in getting into, because I don't have a current manga series to read. I'm all caught up on all the ones that I was enjoying thus far, so I want to check out a new one. Okay, then we've got this one. This is called August Kitco and the Mechas from Space, and this is pretty much exactly what it sounds like. It's about this world is ending. It's very much giving me like Transformers vibes. It's like, what if humanity knew that the Decepticons were coming to destroy Earth? That's pretty much the setting for this story. The Decepticons, they're not called that. They're called the Vanguard, but the Decepticons are coming to destroy humanity. And so this person is a pianist, and he's at like this end of the world party, and pretty much, you know, the mechas come down to begin their reign of terror, but there's this one like rogue vanguard that is trying to help save humanity. And so it's very much giving, you know, Autobots, Decepticons, Transformers fanfic vibes. I don't know, but it's sort of set in space, and it seems interesting and fun, and I like the Transformers. So since it's giving me such strong Transformers vibes, I'm willing to give it a try. Sounds really interesting, and I know that one of the protagonists, there are like multiple POVs in this, like a non-binary rock star. Very exciting, very cool. Can't wait to read it. Alright, so then y'all know that I have that little TBR jar that I'm using for my 23 books to read in 2023. And so I pulled out a couple of slips from that jar, and these were the 3 picks that I got. So I got Alone With You in the Ether by Olivia Blake, which is like a dramatic, tragic love story type book, and I have the independently published copy. So I'm wondering if the traditionally published copy has been like changed or edited. I'm not too sure, so I should probably look that up. But yeah, I have the independently published copy, so that's why mine might look different than yours. And yeah, that's pretty much all I know about it. That it's like a kind of tragic love story, and everyone says that it's so beautiful and lyrical and all that. So I want to check it out, and y'all know, or maybe you don't know, but I am trying to make my way through Olivia Blake's backlist, so this is up next. The next thing that I picked out of my TBR jar was Gods of Jade and Shadow by Sylvia Moreno Garcia, another author whose backlist I'm trying to make my way through. And this is essentially about this girl who she accidentally awakens this god of the underworld who has been trapped in this like box in her family's home, and she's sort of been treated like the Cinderella of her family. They're using her as a servant. She is not you know, beloved by her family, and so she relishes the opportunity to kind of run away on this adventure and help this god reclaim his throne in the underworld because it was usurped by his brother. And so yeah, nothing else to say about it really, but hopefully it'll be a good one, because the last Sylvia Moreno Garcia I read, I didn't love it, but I have good feelings about this one, so fingers crossed. All right, last book that I picked out of my TBR jar was The Bone Shard Emperor. This is the second book in the Drowned Empire series, about this world where they use something called bone shard magic to control these kind of like construct thingies that basically help the emperor run the government. And he's sort of like this mad scientist type person, very neglectful to his people, and essentially this is about his daughter Lynn trying to succeed him and learn his bone shard magic because he is very secretive about how it works and how he's like running the government. And so we're trying to follow Lynn on her journey to follow in his footsteps, pretty much. There's a few different POVs, but that's like the main gist of the plot, and this is the second book in that series. And the third and final book is coming out in May. I'll put it up on the screen when it's coming out. So I would like to get through this one so that I could get into the Bone Shard War when it comes out. Okay, so we've got Sword of Kaigen by M.L. Wong. I have been wanting to read this for like 2 years. I've been putting this on TBRs for a very long time, and I also put this on my like 5-star predictions video that I did in 2022, and I wanted to do like a follow-up video to that, and this is the only book from that list that I haven't read yet, so I would like to get this read so I could do that follow-up video. So I have like broken it up into little chunks of like 100 pages to help me get through it. Maybe it'll help motivate me, so I don't think, you know, I don't know, I feel like in my mind when I sit down with a really big book, I just need to read through the whole thing all at once. But I'm thinking that if I separate it into like these little chunks, maybe it will make it more manageable for me to read. Because I don't know, I just feel like big books intimidate me so much. And I mean, this book is not like massive, but it's like 600 or so pages. So yeah, we're gonna see. I'm going to make another attempt at this one, and hopefully I'll end up finishing it and loving it. We'll see. Then we've got King of Infinite Space by Lindsay Faye, and this is a modern Hamlet retelling with like polyamorous vibes. Yeah, that's pretty much all I'm going to say about it. That's all I know about it, and that's all I need to know to want to read it. I recently hauled this. I bought this like in early March, late February, so it's time for me to read this. I want to get a little bit better about reading books soon after I purchase them, because I feel like if I don't read them soon enough after I purchase them, then like the excitement and the high of the purchase wears off, and then it'll take me years and years and years to finally get to reading that book. So I don't want that to happen, so I need to read this soon. In that same shopping trip, I bought The Hanged Man by K.D. Edwards. This is the sequel to the Tarot sequence. The first book is called The Last Sun, and it is about, it's like a modern fantasy book that is set in this place called Atlantis. Pretty much it's like the lost city of Atlantis, except it's full of these magical people who have relocated their city of Atlantis to the island of Nantucket. Why? I don't know. But they live on the island of Nantucket, and their society is organized based on like the tarot deck. So there are these various courts. Our main character is a part of the Sun Court. He is the last remaining heir of that court, and he also is sort of a magical mercenary dude. And in the first book in the series, he gets himself involved in this whole magical conspiracy that he really was minding his business and he did not want to be a part of, but now he is. And I definitely want to see where the series is going to end up. It's very fun. It has a strong found family vibe, very queer. The magic system is really unique. I've never seen anything quite like it. It's fun, a little bit irreverent. I enjoyed it, so I definitely want to pick up this sequel. All right, and then I have Mame by Jessica George, and this is like a coming of age novel, and I've heard some good things about this recently, and this was my book of the month pick, not last month but the month before, so I like to keep up with my book of the month picks if I can. So I definitely want to check this out. This is about a girl from Ghana. I believe she's living in London at the time, but she is from an immigrant family, and she's had to take on a lot of responsibility as the oldest daughter in this family, taking care of her family, getting into like her early to mid 20s and feeling like she's very lost in who she is and what her identity is. And so she's trying to kind of find herself after years of being, you know, available to take care of other people, she's trying to pull back and take care of herself and figure out who she is. And I love stories like that, so I definitely want to check this out. I feel like as a lost 20-something, it resonates pretty deeply with me, so I definitely want to check this out and see what it's giving. This is on the list. And the final book on my very ambitious TBR is The Wolf and the Woodsman by Ava Reed. I recently saw a TikTok of Ava Reed promoting their most recent release, which is called Juniper and Thorn, but I don't own that one, but I do own this, and I'm kind of fascinated by the author. Their promotional tactics on TikTok have intrigued me, and so I want to check this one out. Do I really know what this book is about? No, I don't. On the top says, in the vein of Naomi Novik's New York Times bestseller Spinning Silver and Catherine Arden's national bestseller The Bear and the Nightingale, this unforgettable debut inspired by Hungarian history and Jewish mythology follows a young pagan woman with hidden powers and a one-eyed captain of the woodsmen as they form an unlikely alliance to thwart a tyrant. Sounds fun, sounds exciting. I like what I see there. And it's also blurbed by two authors that I really, really love. Victoria Lee, who is the author of The Fever King. I don't know if you guys have ever heard about that. I feel like it's like a pretty underrated like YA dystopian series. It's called The Fever Wake Duology. Very, very good. I loved it so much. So I love Victoria Lee. Victoria Lee has very good things to say about it. And it's also blurbed by S.A. Chakraborty. So two people that I really love, so I trust them. I trust their opinion, and I'm willing to give this book a shot. So that is my very, very ambitious spring TBR. Let me know what you guys are planning to read this spring. What's the vibe for you? Are you guys planning to read lots of romance, lots of fantasy, thrillers, mysteries? I don't know. Let me know. I'd love to hear about it in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and hopefully I'll see you in my next one. Bye, you guys!